Hey y'all, and welcome back to my channel. On this page, I talk about technology and money. If you're new here, welcome to the page. I'm glad the algorithm brought you here. Please consider subscribing to the channel. And if you're a returning viewer, also consider both liking and sharing the video. Liking and sharing the video does two things. Number one, it helps this content get out into the algorithm. Is you liking the video and sharing it, is you telling the algorithm that you find this content interesting, engaging, and valuable. So you're adding value. And then number two, it encourages me to continue creating content that you all find helpful. So I hope everyone had a good week and a relaxing day and having a chance to just kind of slow down and do something nice for yourself. So today I wanted to talk about very high level. If you have not heard, the United States now has a new artificial intelligence bill of rights. We finally have one in comparison to like other countries who already had one established. And then also talk about some developments in AI that I have come across here in the past couple of weeks. And I'm going to share my screen. So just bear with me. And I'm going to start with, let's see here. I want to start with, make sure this is going to pick up. All right. Got multiple screens going on as usual. I'm going to start with this interesting video I came across on TikTok from a content creator. Oh, there we go. Awesome. Make sure I'm getting the audio. Yes, because y'all will be able to hear. There we go. From this content creator I came across on TikTok, y'all should be seeing that. She talks about, she is a PhD student. She's a student working on her PhD in media. And as I was pulling together content to talk about the new United States artificial intelligence bill of rights, you know, the algorithm would do its thing. I came across this content creator's video, and I want to start with this.
I'm so tired of having to type black girl after every little single thing that I want to say.
I got to put this PhD to use. Okay, let's go. So I tried to record a video about this already, but this place didn't allow me to post it. So here we go. I am a PhD student in communications, culture, and media studies. And one of the books that we've read in my program is called Algorithms of Oppression. And Algorithms of Oppression is written by a doctor, a scholar named Sophie.
Oh, let me make sure y'all are seeing that. Yes, you are. Okay, sorry. I just wanted to stop. Let me make it big. Make sure y'all can see that. Okay, let's go back to the video.
Noble. And Dr. Noble talks about how racial biases are embedded in digital platforms, including search engines and some of our favorite social media sites. So the fact that when you are searching for hairstyles, you have to say Black girl hairstyles or hairstyles for Black girls is by design. Because when you search for just hairstyles without any qualifiers, we see that the people that you normally see are mostly white folks. And that is because of hegemonic practices. Now, that is just a fancy way of talking about the things that are so embedded within language, within culture, within the ways that we interact with each other that make us all believe that this is just the way that it is. It's always been this way, and it'll always be this way. And that is just it. It's the default. If we don't take a moment to think about the ways certain things are just reinforced within the language, within the culture, and all of these other things that I've mentioned, then we just go about our lives and think, oh, this is normal. This is how it's supposed to be. This is how it always will be. If only there was a theory that talks about how racial bias is embedded in culture, in media, in the law, and it wasn't being persecuted.
I'm so tired.
All right, so so definitely go out and check out more of that content creators, that creator's content on just algorithms. She did a follow-up video in response. I gave a little bit more information on the hegemonic practices and algorithms and how these algorithms sometimes are could be coded with biases of the engineer who's building the algorithm. So I found that really interesting, and I came across it when I was getting ready for when I was looking through things for to talk about the new AI Bill of Rights. Okay, so let me go back. Now that we got that out the way, let's talk about it. Okay, so the new Bill of Rights that the United States has put out came out through the Office of Science and Technology, and they released it earlier this month. And it's based on 5 principles. And I'm not going to read through the whole Bill of Rights. It's actually, I'm going to flip to another screen. It's actually the entire Bill of Rights. It's actually, I think, almost 80. It's almost 80 pages long. And as always, I'll make sure to leave links for references where you all can read through these, read through it on your own, and just kind of noodle on it, and think on these things. But the 5, the new Bill of Rights for Artificial Intelligence that has come out from the White House and their Office of Science and Technology is based on 5 principles. Okay. So it's based on safe and effective systems, and just very high level. Americans should be protected from unsafe or ineffective systems. And then it goes on to talk a little bit about automated systems and how they should be developed from diverse communities, stakeholders, domain experts. So people who specialize in these things, to just talk about and understand like gaps and risk and impacts and any concerns on those algorithms. The second principle is based on protection from algorithm discrimination protections. And so let's scroll down to that, and saying that people should not face discrimination. We know this, some of these principles, and as I read it through, I'm like, well, that should be like basic, right? But anyway, this principle says that, you should not face discrimination by algorithms and systems, should be used and designed in an equitable way. I mean, it's not a law, right? It's just saying, it's just like a suggestion. These read more to me like suggestions versus laws. Like, you will not be under, code of law, blah, 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 unfairly discriminated against, or you having these AI used against you unlawfully. But it's just saying you should not. It's not like a law or anything. But all right, so the third principle is based on data privacy. And so for data privacy, it says you should be protected from abusive data practices via built-in protections, and you should have agency over how data about you is used, and you should be. That's the thing. It's not you will not be. It's not saying you will be protected. It's just saying you should be. That's why I was like, this kind of reads more like suggestions than actual law. But anyway, the fourth principle is notice and explanation. You should know that an automated system is being used and understand how and why it contributes to outcomes that impact you. Now, this one I do agree on, and I'm going to share a resource here in a moment, because we know artificial intelligence is embedded in so many ways that we don't even know. And I listened to this podcast that I'm going to share here in a moment from MIT, and I've been listening to it for about 2 years now. And there are so many ways. Like I know, like if you go to like a website and a chat bot, like you're on a website for longer than like 2 minutes, and then you'll get a chat message saying, "Can I help you?" That's AI in the background, right? Those chat bots. So that's an algorithm. But there are other ways that AI is embedded in things that we may not be aware of. And I only know because I listened to this podcast from MIT, and it talks about different ways that AI is embedded. Like, for example, like in Las Vegas and garbage cans and things like that. Won't get into it. It's the episode on that podcast from about 2 years ago. Anyway, so the fifth principle is human alternatives, consideration, and fallback. You should be able to opt out where appropriate and have access to a person who can quickly consider and remedy any problems you encounter. So very high level, that is the blueprint that is the United States Artificial Intelligence Bill of Rights. And then they go on to talk about how to make automated systems work for people, and what are some challenges, and etc. So I came across this interesting high-level art. Well, this interesting article from MIT about who's going to save us from bad AI. Now, this is a paywall article, so I really don't want to share it on this stream, because you're supposed to pay for it to read through it. But I wanted to, there was another, let's see. There was something very high level, and I think I lost the link. But anyway, so I wanted to share this article from lawfareblog.com. It talks specifically about the AI Bill of Rights and how it makes uneven progress on algorithmic. Say that fast 3 times. Protections. And so the person who writes this, or who owns this blog, is a Rubenstein Fellow, right? And so if you don't know who David Rubenstein is, I encourage you to Google him. He is a very powerful billionaire who has contributed in many ways positively to in media and different companies, and sits on various boards. And so based on that background, I look at things when I see people who are associated with those type of institutions or have those type of fellowships, I pay attention to those. So the article came out earlier this month, and it says the AI Bill of Rights makes uneven progress on algorithmic protections. Boy, say that 3 times. So it goes on to say the White House has released the blueprint for AI Bill of Rights, what we just looked at, which is likely the signature document reflecting the Biden administration's approach to algorithmic regulation. Ooh, I said it good that time. So paired with a series of agency actions, the administration is working to address many high priority harms in the AI, such as those in financial services, healthcare provisioning, hiring, and more. There is clear demonstrated progress in implementing a sectorally specific approach to regulation. And he goes on to address that the progress is being made and is uneven, and I agree. So important issues in education, access, and worker surveillance. Now, this one is really interesting. That worker surveillance piece, right? The reason why I highlight that and say that is interesting, because if you haven't heard, there was the company, not LinkedIn. Oh, one of the big companies, there was a big article about less than a week ago, where they were using different AI-based software to monitor their employees, and found out that their employees almost double dipping in a sense, right? They were working 2 full-time jobs and working on where during hours they were supposed to be working on their main company's job, they were also doing working on the other work for the other company. So that's why I said it was interesting, that piece about worker surveillance. Okay, so let's go back to the article here. Okay, have received important issues in educational access and worker surveillance, which I'm sure those employees did not know that they were being surveilled like that, right? Yeah, as well as most uses of AI in law enforcement have received inefficient attention. Further, despite its focus on AI research and AI commerce, the White House is yet to effectively coordinate and facilitate AI regulation. So I've seen this piece right here about AI research and coordination and commerce. I have seen that same sentiment on different media outlets, not just this one, where, some that are left-leaning, right-leaning, saying, yes, this AI Bill of Rights is great, but it's not enough. So then it goes on to say, he talks about how in late 2020, the prior administration released this final guidance on regulating AI and his response to that. And it goes on to explain, what I just said a few minutes ago, that it came out that this AI Bill of Rights came from the White House Office of Science and Technology Policy. It's foremost a detailed exposition on the civil rights harms of AI, but we knew that already, right? I mean, most people who follow this technology know that it is uneven and there are issues with it. And so I don't know. So he goes on to say it's not to be a universal AI guidance. It gives relatively short shrift to other uses of AI, such as in critical infrastructure, most consumer products, and online information ecosystems. And then he goes on to talk about, he breaks down each policy. He breaks down each principle and calls out some real interesting things. And one thing, I agree with what he says, because this is non-binding, right? This Bill of Rights, it is questionable, like any substantial changes that could be made to how companies use it, how they say that they're using it, et cetera. And he says because they are non-binding, to agree to this bill will culminate and substantial changes to these systems is largely dependent on the actions of federal agencies. I mean, and then he goes on to talk about like some additional things and other federal agencies and all. But I just thought that was interesting, and I'm going to make sure I leave a link to that. One other interesting development, and I'll just touch on very briefly about some recent developments in AI that I've come across. And again, this is another paywall article. Now, this is from MIT Technology Review. So if you are really interested in following and staying on top of what's happening in AI, I have one of my biggest resources for following that is MIT. They have multiple things. They have a podcast that I'm going to share with you all here in a moment. They have this regular newsletter that comes out called The Algorithm that lets you know what's happening in MIT. And then they have like newsletters that you get that are free, they're not paywall, that you can sign up for, that tells you what's regularly happening in AI. And then they have this MIT Technology Review. But one other interesting use case that has come out about AI that I'm not going to share the whole thing because again, it's a paywalled article. And if you want to read it, you do have to sign up. So I don't want to do any copyright things, but I can share just the beginning of the article. And then essentially there's a provider, a physician in Europe who is advocating for the use of AI in patient-assisted unaliving themselves and using an algorithm to help decide if that patient is mentally competent enough to make that decision, almost like a doctor death type situation. So MIT had this very interesting, engaging article that came out a few days ago, and it says the messy morality of letting AI make life and death decisions. So, automation is good. I'm all for it, very interested. I follow along, but when we start getting to the point of having these algorithms, utilizing these algorithms and saying that the machines can help make these type of decisions, that's when we're starting to get into some ethical. Like I feel like it's starting to push you're starting to really push the edges of morality, ethics in AI, right? So think about like the things that researchers are doing with CRISPR and gene editing along those lines. And I have some concerns about how CRISPR is being used in gene editing and gene splicing. And then when I saw this provider is pushing for this algorithm to help patients make these decisions, that was a red flag for me. So, but I can't share the whole article because it is paywall. But last thing that I can say, if you are looking to follow along with like developments in AI, because it is everywhere. It is embedded in so many ways, y'all. If you don't even realize, right? Because it's just, and in some cases, technology should be that way, right? It should be used in a way where you don't, that is almost seamless to your life, right? But just knowing, where it's being used and being aware of it. So one of the best resources, and again, there are many out there, but one of the resources that, I haven't made that big enough, my bad. one of the best resources that I have come across here in the last, I've been following this podcast for about the last 2.5 years. And this is a podcast from MIT. So that MIT up in New England, where technology research and things are done. It comes from MIT Technology Review. And the name of that podcast is In Machines We Trust. And it's available like on Apple. You can get it on Spotify, but it's a podcast about all things machine learning, artificial intelligence. And like how I was saying at the beginning, how I didn't even know like AI is being used in, for example, think about one of the examples I heard on one of the earlier podcasts, like garbage cans out in Las Vegas to help surveil for drugs and things like that. Like you just don't think about AI being embedded in things like that. But anyway, so In Machines We Trust, like for example, it just talks about the different ways AI is being used. Here's a podcast they did around digital humans and face farming, how retail is using AI to prevent fraud. So I will say, people, I think about like that one, how AI is being used to prevent fraud. Like, don't go into these grocery stores like where you have to do like the self-checkout and think you're going to scan a carton of eggs for a dog on PS5. Don't do it. Okay, just trust me what I tell you. But that is a great resource. And again, as always, I'll be sure to share, leave links to everything, including this TikTok creators who's talking about hegemonic practices. Who talks about hegemonic practices in AI and just questions. So that's it, y'all. I just wanted a very high level talk about the United States AI Bill of Rights. Please go read it for yourself. Just think on those things and think of, even again, when I read through and I'm like, well, these are just suggestions. It's not law, right? So I think there's more work to be done. So if you have any comments or you want to reach out, I'll be sure to leave my contact information in the description, and I will see you in the next video.